In this video, I'd like to go over what I would consider to be the ultimate DIY tripod system. So, as a baseline, I'm going to start out here with a tripod that I do actually use quite regularly. This Surui, I believe is how they pronounce it, S-I-R-U-I, and this is their, I believe it's the AT125. Remember where they actually have it written on the tripod. Anyways, this has been a great little tripod, and I paired up with the Leofoto LH22 ball head, and it makes for a fairly lightweight tripod combination, whether it be for mounting a pair of binoculars for birding or a spotting scope, or looking up a rifle for for having a really stable platform. Lots of reasons to have a good tripod with you. So this one is on my scale right here at 1 pound 8.4 ounces, including the ball head. And this tripod's pretty functional. It's pretty quick to deploy. It's got you twist these legs, the little feet on the legs here, and you can extend it. And it's you get quite a range there. And when you're fully extended, you just get that little twist and it locks it in. So you can deploy the legs quite quickly. I've got another video elsewhere on my channel here that does go over this tripod, and I would consider it its sister tripod, the AM225. So let's call that kind of the baseline for my tripod needs. But as I like an ultralight system, I like to be able to carry as light a weight of gear as possible. I look for things that are a little bit more multi-purpose. And so a few years back, I gravitated to an idea of combining my trekking pole system that I would usually, and a lot of people would do this, if they are needing a tripod for some reason, they would have a system that would have a tripod in their pack, and they'd also have a pair of trekking poles that they'd be using on the trail. And they might use the trekking poles to also set up their tent. So there'd be some multi-purpose aspect there, but the tripod was pretty much limited to the use of whatever they brought the tripod for. But I came up with a system where I designed a tripod that was both my trekking staff and also my tripods that I would need in the field, and it was also my it satisfied the my tent pole needs for my tarp tents and my Durston tents and different things that I was using for my ultralight backpacking. So this is, in a nutshell, more or less the finished product of what that ended up looking like. And if you can see this here in the video, also I have here again the same LH22 ball head, but what it ends up being here, if you can kind of see this, is a fairly compact tripod that also is a walking staff, a hiking staff. So I can hike with that, but it has a very wide range of leg lengths that I can deploy here. I have a lower leg that is an aluminum piece that's just a twist lock style, so I can get some length there. I've got another carbon fiber piece that is quite long, that I can get more or less what I would consider a full standing height tripod out of that. If I'm needing a taller pole for crossing a stream or whatever, I can get that kind of length. If I need extra height for, if I want to be able to stand behind my binoculars if I'm birding or a spotting scope, it does give me the extra reach. And then again, I can extend that out even further. So as a tripod, it functions, it's a very versatile tripod, but as I've said, it also comes apart, and I have essentially single standalone trekking poles if I need them, but I also have a fully adjustable leg for my tent. So for my Durston, for example, I think I needed about 50 inches or so of height to get it up into the peaks, and this works great. I make a little knobby plastic insert that I put on the end so it doesn't poke through, and it works great. So as I looked for various parts and pieces to put this together over the years, I did end up going with just a traditional trekking pole end, and a lot of trekking poles will come with, especially aluminum ones, will come with an aluminum trekking pole that if you pull it apart, it looks exactly like that. And I just literally just took that piece and I married it to a carbon fiber tube that was of the same inside, it had the same inside diameter of the aluminum tube that it came from. And then I married that to another carbon fiber tube that it was a very tight fit. And I took the next leg up off of the trekking poles that I took apart, and I added, I took the twist lock mechanism and I basically just heated it up and pulled it out, and the glue was able to come apart, and I put it inside that carbon tube, and voila, I ended up with this adjustable leg. And so that works quite well. And it's, again, this is something you can do just with pieces that you can pick up on Amazon. So the base tripod here is, if I take this apart, and I should here, but this will actually kind of help bring this full circle. I'm going to put a weight here, scale. So the 3 legs, oops, that zeroes out. I got 1 pound, 3.6 ounces. Add my little tripod with the ball head. I'm at 1 pound, 12.1 ounces. So to remind ourselves, that's 4 ounces heavier than my standalone tripod. But this tripod here is doing 2 or 3 more duties than this one tripod was doing for an extra 4 ounces. So this tripod here is I believe it's the Leofoto MTO, I'm going to read that, O2C, the MTO2C tripod. And it's a little tabletop tripod, and it's got these locking mechanisms that does let it go to the various positions. But I more or less took it apart, and I wanted to find a carbon tube that would essentially line up with the inside diameter of this carbon tube, so that it would make a nice tight fit. And it was a little bit of a fiddle factor and a little bit of trial and error to try and get that, but I essentially cut off the existing legs, leaving enough that tube could go over the tube that I found that fit the right diameter. And I can try and answer some of those questions about those details in the comments below if people would like more information. But what it ends up being, and as you can see, I've added these. This is just a carbon tube with literally an arrow tip and an arrow feet that I've glued in there, epoxied in, and so it makes a nice little standalone tripod in and of itself, which for shooting, so if you're using this for shooting sports or for hunting, this is a very nice low profile and very stable tripod that you can set up, and it works really well for getting really low, in a low position for a rifle setup. But it also allows you some flexibility if you are using the legs for your tent or something. You still have a tripod. You can set that up on a rock. I've used it on rocks. I've used it on stumps and things, and I still have a tripod I can use for my binoculars, for example. I tried to marry it to another bigger tripod system, and this one is the Sunway Photo T16C20N, and it's a little bit more robust. It's got these locking clips that clip in and out. Same principle, basically cut it off to fit the diameter of the tube that I wanted, and same thing, this marries up to that tripod. I actually have to undo that because this is really designed for it to be in this kind of a longer, sorry, you're not going to be able to see all that in the video, longer mode there. So I can attach those and have an even more robust tripod. So oftentimes what I will be doing is I'll have this tripod on my rifle, and if I need to have an extra length of, the extra long legs, I can swap to take my staff apart and put these legs on if I need that rigidity with the thicker poles. But I designed it to also have the flexibility that I can pull these legs apart, and I can essentially create different lengths of legs for this tripod. So in essence, I have two standalone tripod systems, and this one can go again to a full height, and there's no locking. This is just really tight fitting carbon fiber tubes is really what I've got this one designed around. And so those can all link together and get essentially like a standing height tripod. So this tripod here is another 1 pound, 2.3 ounces. So as a standalone tripod, it does everything this tripod does. It's just its deployment is a little bit more cumbersome, but it does it's equally stable. Pull this apart here. Equally stable, and I would even argue it's maybe even a little bit more stable. One thing I do find with this style of carbon tube nesting is I don't get a lot of play between the joints. And when you've got this style, any of these, you always get just a teeny bit of play at each joint, and so that'll kind of add up at the full height, full extended height. You don't get quite as much with if they're more tightly nested. So anyways, that's my take on a kind of a DIY tripod. Again, just kind of starting with a good ball head. Like I said, this Leofoto LH22 has been really strong. Holds rifles, holds big spotting scopes and whatnot. And then marrying that to a small tabletop style tripod that you can add some carbon tubes to and kind of make it your own. So if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments below. So thank you.